What if the profound gnawing anxiety that keeps you scrolling endlessly at 3 in the morning, that feeling of time slipping through your fingers like fine sand, isn't a mental health problem to be managed, but a sacred internal alarm bell ringing from the deepest core of your being? I am not asking you to fret about what tragedies the future might hold, because your deepest, most primal fear is not about external circumstances. It is the silent, urgent scream of your own soul, recognizing that you are actively wasting this incarnation. I invite you now to set aside the terrestrial map you were handed at birth, the one that insists your current unease is merely burnout, seasonal depression, or the necessary chaos of modern life. Your logical, pragmatic mind, which is calibrated only to measure physical results and empirical data, is already attempting to file this powerful declaration under psychological cliché X, insisting that the urgency you feel is merely a lack of serotonin or the residue of poor time management. But I must guide you past that simplistic, purely physical categorization. What if that sense of internal friction, that unmistakable sensation of running hard but going nowhere, is actually the most accurate spiritual antenna you possess, indicating a massive misalignment between your divine intention and your daily action? Why? For decades, through the deep trance readings of the sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce, I have observed the patterns of incarnate life. He charted the spiritual physics of existence, revealing that your journey through the veil of flesh is neither accidental nor infinitely replaceable. The non-physical guides, the companions of the soul, do not interfere with free will, but they do leave distinct, undeniable signs, subtle psychic nudges, when they observe you drifting dangerously off course. They watch, waiting for the moments when the spiritual current threatens to pull you under. Think back to a recent moment of quiet solitude. Did you feel a sudden, crushing weight of inadequacy, a terrifying realization that the life you are living does not match the life you know you were meant to live? Was that merely regret, or was it a swift, sharp tap on the shoulder from the realm of spirit? We are about to decode the 5 unmistakable warning signs, revealed through the readings of Cayce, that indicate the soul is becoming desperate, sending out urgent flares to compel you to stop squandering this precious time on earth. These are not signs of pathology, they are signs of deep spiritual pressure, the soul demanding a course correction before the inertia of waste becomes too powerful to break. When the spiritual plane attempts to nudge you out of the gravitational quicksand of routine and triviality, it leaves these profound emotional and physical markers. Do you recognize the feeling of being metaphysically stuck, of being tethered to a purpose far smaller than your potential? If you feel that pull, you are already standing on the precipice of this vital knowledge. These 5 signs are the breadcrumbs left by your guides, insisting that you look up, wake up, and remember the contract you made before you even took your first breath. The first impulse when facing deep, non-physical truth is always resistance. I know precisely what intellectual mechanism has just activated within you. That vigilant, calculating part of the self, the terrestrial mind obsessed with empirical documentation and the strict laws of cause and effect, is already scrambling for a classification system. It is attempting, right now, to categorize the concept of a pre-incarnation contract or the intervention of spiritual guides. It wants desperately to file this information under esoteric fantasy, cheap self-help jargon, or, perhaps more defensively, under clinical delusion. This voice insists that the profound, pervasive discomfort you carry, that gnawing, persistent sense that you are operating far below the capacity you know you possess, must be an anxiety disorder, a depressive episode, or simply the natural, stressful byproduct of modern existence. It argues that you need a diagnosis, a treatment, or a temporary escape, a quick fix for a strictly pathological problem. And you must honor that voice, for its function is to protect you from the unknown and the immeasurable. But I invite you to look closer, to treat the quality of that inner ache not as an injury, but as specialized, sacred data. What if this pervasive, low-level agitation, the constant hum of restlessness that keeps you moving, searching and deeply unsatisfied, even in moments of conventional success, is not a sickness at all? What if it is instead the exquisite pain of spiritual misalignment? This feeling you experience is not pathology. It is pure, undiluted spiritual pressure. It is the deep muscle memory of your soul, recognizing that the environment you constructed for yourself is far too small for the grand vision, the necessary work you intended to accomplish when you chose this specific life. Think of a mighty river that has been forced into a narrow, winding stream. The water is still the river, but the pressure builds against the banks, desperate for release and expansion. Edgar Cayce understood this mechanism perfectly. The soul, having chosen a vast, transformative destiny, will never allow the physical self to settle comfortably into limiting mediocrity. When you feel that unique, indefinable restlessness, the one no amount of distraction or material acquisition can truly silence, do you typically label it stress and seek immediate avoidance, or do you recognize it as an energetic call to action, a cosmic knock on the door of your true potential? Are you viewing this internal dissonance as a flaw to be medicated, or as proof that the universe demands more of you? The 5 signs we are about to explore are not general anxieties or vague platitudes. They are highly specific signals. The repeating patterns, the strange coincidences, the persistent low-grade internal debates that your higher self and your spiritual guides use to nudge you. They are insisting that you wake up, look up, and remember the blueprint. These are not simply warnings. They are invitations to align yourself with the sacred contract you promised to fulfill. And the moment you recognize the nature of this pressure, the game changes entirely. The first sign, the most overlooked, begins with the way you interact with time itself. You are beginning to feel the heat of the first warning sign, recognizing that uncomfortable friction with time, that subtle but persistent feeling that the clock is moving too fast or too slow for the destiny you know deep down you are meant to fulfill. But before we dive deeper into the specific mechanics of that misalignment and pressure, we must firmly establish the foundational authority for these insights. This is not casual philosophy, it is documented spiritual cartography. I promise you, the rational, skeptical core of your being, that wonderful, necessary safety mechanism, is already attempting to file the name Edgar Cayce under the heading of charlatan, folk hero, or convenient delusion. It insists that extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, and it is right to demand it. But I guide you to look at the evidence not through the lens of subjective belief, but through undeniable volume. Between 1910 and 1945, the man known as the Sleeping Prophet delivered more than 14,000 verified, stenographically recorded life readings while in a deep trance state. This was not anecdotal mysticism or scattered prophecy. This was a systematic, decades-long process of high-level psychic data collection that mapped the consistent laws of continuity and consciousness. Why? What did these thousands of readings reveal with stunning consistency, echoing across unique individuals, spanning centuries of documented history? They revealed the undeniable fact that this life, the one you are navigating right now, is not an accident of biology or a cosmic roll of the dice. You were not merely born, you volunteered. You authored the blueprint. Cayce's vast repository validates the profound spiritual truth that before you took your first breath, you signed a sacred contract with your own soul, a set of non-negotiable experiences, challenges, and gifts designed specifically for your precise evolution. Do you ever feel that specific internal ache of recognition when you hear a concept? That sense of déjà vu, that sudden clarity that you are supposed to be doing something vast and specific, yet you can't quite put your finger on it? The 5 warning signs we are about to examine, the pressure you feel, the misaligned relationship with time, the sense of stagnation, these are not punishments or random glitches in the system. They are precisely the spiritual nudges your guides, and indeed your own higher self, deploy when they observe you veering too far off the agreed-upon navigational path. Edgar Cayce didn't just diagnose physical diseases, he meticulously mapped karmic trajectories, proving that every moment of internal frustration is merely a powerful signal that you are momentarily standing outside the vibrational frequency of your soul's greatest intention. The central question is not whether this incredible body of evidence is historically documented, but whether you are willing to accept the startling truth of your own identity. You are not a victim of circumstance in this life. You are the sovereign architect of this incarnation. Are you ready to stop treating these persistent spiritual nudges as external disruptions and start recognizing them as internal, sovereign guidance? Let us now examine the first critical signal your soul sends when it perceives the clock running empty, the moment you begin to feel the pressure of unfulfilled time. The universe operates by a foundational principle of equilibrium, an immutable law charted by the insights of Edgar Cayce, yet consistently misinterpreted by the terrestrial mind. This is the revelation I must offer you. The acute suffering you experience in this life, the gnawing anxiety, the frustrating loops of scarcity, the persistent relational turbulence, is not a cosmic punishment, nor is it the result of divine retribution for past failures. Your logical brain, the fiercely protective warden of material reality, already attempts to dismiss this suffering as mere chemical imbalance, bad fortune, or random, meaningless chaos, X. But I invite you to see it through the lens of spiritual physics. That persistent weight, that pervasive sense of things being fundamentally wrong, is the precise, targeted communication system utilized by your spirit guides, your soul's contracted support team, and ultimately, your own higher self. It is the subtle, unavoidable nudge. Why? It is the mechanism by which they signal that you are aggressively swimming against the sacred current your soul meticulously mapped out before your descent into this physical density. Have you ever felt profoundly exhausted, not from the effort you are expending, but from the sheer illogical resistance life seems to be throwing back at you? That resistance is the water itself fighting your misdirected stroke. Think of your soul's blueprint as a precise crystalline river flowing toward a specific ocean of fulfillment. Every time you paddle hard toward the muddy bank, chasing goals that resonate only with the ego's temporary desires, you generate internal friction. The pain you feel, be it emotional exhaustion or physical disease, is not the punitive force of the universe. It is the inevitable spiritual turbulence created when sovereign consciousness attempts to violate its own chosen energetic pathway. This framework shifts everything. It means the universe is not cruel, it is merely responsive. Your guides do not want you to suffer. They use the minimal amount of pressure necessary to recalibrate your navigation system before you waste too much precious incarnational energy. The true danger is not the pain itself, but the act of interpreting the pain as an external accident, forcing you to numb the signal rather than reading the instruction. When we refuse to read the signs, the nudge becomes more insistent. It starts as a gentle tap on the shoulder, a whisper of intuition, a fleeting moment of self-doubt about the path you're on. If ignored, that tap escalates to a turbulent wave, perhaps manifesting as a sudden loss, an economic crash, or a crisis of faith, all designed to throw you back into the middle of your intended river flow. This is not malicious, it is magnificent grace in action. Do you honestly believe the intelligence that orchestrated your physical form and placed you here would abandon you to random chance? Your deepest struggles are, therefore, not blemishes on your record. They are urgent telegrams confirming that the clock on this incarnation is ticking, and the soul is desperately attempting to communicate the discrepancy between your current movement and your ultimate purpose. Are you prepared to stop labeling your internal distress as pathology and begin recognizing it as sacred sovereign direction? We transition now to the first undeniable manifestation of this ignored guidance, the quiet but crushing pressure of unfulfilled time. What if the dull, persistent anxiety you wake up with every morning, the feeling you automatically dismiss as chemical imbalance, financial stress, or simply needing better sleep, is actually a sophisticated, personalized alarm system deployed by your own soul? This is the central audacious truth gleaned from the astonishing trance readings of Edgar Cayce. The profound discomforts you endure are not random afflictions. They are targeted, energetic nudges from your higher self, desperately trying to steer you away from squandering the immense opportunity of this particular lifetime. I know your logical, pragmatic mind, that essential part of you that keeps the bills paid and the car running, is already attempting to file this revelation under esoteric fantasy or wishful spiritual thinking. It insists that your sadness is just mundane pathology, X, something to be managed with a pill or a retreat, nothing more. But I invite you now to look deeper, past the surface symptom, into the fundamental resonance of your existence. What if that pervasive feeling of being stuck is not a failure of character, but the sound of your spirit trying to shift gears, encountering too much sand in the mechanism of your current routine? The soul, according to Cayce, operates on a principle of utility and expansion. When the physical vessel deviates too far from the established blueprint for growth set before this birth, the universe begins to chime. This sound is often misinterpreted as bad luck, chronic fatigue, or generalized boredom, the spiritual equivalent of static on a radio signal. Yet, truly understanding this noise is the first step toward recognizing sacred, sovereign direction. Why? This internal distress is your soul's desperate plea for course correction. It is not subtle, it is merely misunderstood. When we ignore the quiet inner voice, the universe dials up the volume, manifesting the discrepancy as tangible, physical, or emotional distress. Have you ever felt utterly disconnected in a room full of people, sensing a profound alienation that no external achievement can soothe? Have you recently experienced a pattern of minor setbacks, a missed promotion, a broken appliance, a repeated argument, that feel less like coincidence and more like purposeful resistance? These are not random acts of fate. These are the 5 unmistakable manifestations of the Spirit's attempt to wake you up before the sands of this current hour run out completely. They are the universal language of urgency, proving that the energy you emit does not align with the purpose you came here to fulfill. One of them is likely screaming loudest in your current life. As we explore each sign, I want you to feel the identification, not just intellectualize the concept. Which of these nudges is currently vibrating most intensely in your heart? Which one is making you feel the crushing weight that your vital, unrepeatable time here is slipping away, unheard and unused? We must now stop merely treating the pain and start reading the instructions encoded within it. We begin with the most deceptive of all these signs, the one that most easily masquerades as mere modern living, the quiet but devastating pressure born of unfulfilled time. The profound, quiet urgency of unfulfilled time is experienced first, paradoxically, as an endless, unexplained lethargy. This is our first signal, a deep, inexplicable boredom. When Cayce spoke of wasted incarnations, he wasn't describing a lack of entertainment. He was describing a soul waiting, unengaged, for the specific, vibrational work it came here to do. You dismiss this pervasive apathy as simple modern burnout, perhaps a need for a new vacation, or a diagnosis of low-grade depression, X. Your practical mind tries to fix it by rearranging your furniture or seeking external stimulants. But I must tell you this truth. That feeling is not the residue of exhaustion. It is the absolute silence of your highest purpose, temporarily turned off. Why? It is the universe providing you the clearest possible feedback. The vessel is idling. Have you ever felt utterly and debilitatingly tired by the sheer ease of your life, even amidst material comfort? That fatigue is the soul protesting being fed only stale bread when it knows there is a feast of true creation available. This void immediately triggers the second sign, the addictive search for escape. Because the silence of purpose is intolerable to the soul, we scramble to fill the gap. We find temporary high-frequency distraction, the scroll, the purchase, the next chemical hit, the obsessive pursuit of approval. We mistake constant motion for progress. Edgar Cayce saw these escapes not as moral failings, but as the spirit desperately trying to tune its radio frequency to anything louder than the inner silence. Your logical self insists this is just poor impulse control or bad habit, X. I insist this is profound, misplaced spiritual hunger, Y. A signal from your guides pushing you to turn the energy you pour into distraction back toward the central, vital purpose of your life. Which constant form of escape are you currently using to drown out the quiet, consistent hum of your soul? When escape fails, we move into deeper forms of self-protection, and here we encounter the third sign: you are wearing the wrong mask. This is the excruciating feeling of spiritual imposter syndrome. You have constructed a competent, successful, and often morally admirable persona: the parent, the CEO, the helpful friend, the good spiritual seeker. But you know, in the darkest, most honest recesses of your identity, that the suit does not fit your true wingspan. You feel like an understudy in the grand play of your own life. This feeling is not humble self-doubt or run-of-the-mill insecurity. This is the absolute refusal of your higher self to inhabit the smallness you have meticulously fabricated for safety. Why? It is the soul screaming, "This is not the vessel I agreed to pilot." This refusal culminates in the fourth sign, a truly insidious block: the chronic, deep-seated fear of being seen. What if the mask slips? We confuse visibility with vulnerability, and thus we consciously or unconsciously sabotage our potential, not because we fear failure, but because we fear the sheer, terrifying power that will be unleashed when we fully embrace our authentic selves. Cayce understood this resistance implicitly. The fear is not of what others will think, but the knowledge that if you truly step into your light, there will be nowhere left to hide. You call this hesitation shyness or prudence. I call this the massive resistance field against your own spiritual destiny. Why? The spirit is nudging you, testing the boundaries, trying to break the glass of your self-imposed prison. What magnificence are you currently hiding that you know is your single greatest asset for transformation? If the world saw the true scale of your power, what would you immediately lose? You are not being asked to succeed. You are being invited to stop shrinking. The incarnation is not wasted by failing, but by refusing to take the stage at all. The refusal to take the stage manifests first in the soul, but its devastating consequence is logged indelibly in the flesh. This brings us to the final, most intimate warning sign, the one that requires the deepest level of self-honesty, the persistent, chronic physical pain that medical science cannot perfectly categorize or permanently silence. You have been treating the lingering discomfort that haunts your lower back, your persistent headaches, or the stiffness in your shoulders as merely a symptom of modern living, stress, or the inevitable decay of the biological machine. The countless hours spent seeking medical justification are necessary, yes, but they often miss the core message. I must tell you, the lingering physical anguish that seems disproportionate to your efforts is not merely an ailment. It is the most desperate, intimate language your higher self possesses. Your pragmatic self, the part of you already filing this spiritual declaration under New Age cliché or psychosomatic delusion, insists that pain is an isolated physical event, But I am inviting you to recognize that this physical anguish is not a punishment. It is the soul putting up an aggressive, necessary protest. Why? Imagine your physical vessel as a magnificently calibrated truck, designed specifically to carry the unique, heavy freight of your destiny, the very mission you incarnated to fulfill. When you persistently run away from the truck or try to load it only with flimsy, false errands, the minor expectations of others, the pursuit of comfort, or jobs that demand nothing truly authentic from you, the structural frame of the vehicle begins to warp. The persistent pain you feel is the foundation screaming, "Stop! You are trying to run without the cargo." Doesn't that sound truer than the 1,000 temporary diagnoses you've already received? Edgar Cayce often described that the soul's greatest work is not achieved in ease, but in the embracing of the very burdens we initially seek to evade. What you perceive as a crushing weight, this persistent need to rest, this deep, dragging fatigue, is actually the gravitational pull of your divine assignment. It is the necessary, non-negotiable pressure required to stabilize your true identity. The spirits are not trying to harm you, they are literally nudging your physical frame, applying pressure points to remind you that your strength is designed not for avoidance, but for carrying that specific, potent weight. This pain, this final, deeply personal warning sign, is your body forcing you to cease the pursuit of smallness. It demands that you sit still long enough to hear the blueprints of the mission you are refusing to accept. Therefore, stop treating this physical struggle as a random flaw in the matrix of your life. It is not an imperfection to be masked with temporary fixes. It is the sacred alarm bell ringing because you possess a unique power that is being wasted in hiding. The pain is not merely stress, it is the exquisite pressure of the diamond being formed. The deepest question is not, how can I make the pain stop? But, what sacred necessary weight am I refusing to lift? Look at where the pain is centralized. Is it your back refusing to carry the weight of responsibility? Is it your gut resisting the intuition you should be following? I challenge you right now to treat the next flare-up of this chronic discomfort not as an adversary but as a roadmap. Acknowledge that you are designed for grandeur and that the ache is simply the cost of refusing your throne. Stop medicating the messenger. Claim the burden. Transform the anchor dragging you down into the foundational pillar of your greatest mission. Are you ready to see the weight, not as a cross, but as the calibration for your highest purpose? You have successfully redefined the ache and the burden. You now understand that the drag you feel is not inertia, but the necessary tension required before a great destined leap. But the most critical question remains: how do you convert that profound tension into directed, purposeful movement? Most of us, when we sense the nudge, that subtle spiritual whisper insisting we shift direction or change a habitual pattern, respond by accelerating. We instinctively flood the system with more information, more activity, more noise, desperately hoping that chaos will somehow birth clarity. Your logical self insists that forward motion must be aggressive, relentless, and loud. I must tell you, this is precisely the moment the higher self retreats, because its voice cannot compete with the rushing waterfall of your own emotional and mental resistance. The true spiritual action, the critical hinge point that Cayce often spoke of for integration, is the ritual of the stop. This is an act of deliberate deceleration, a sacred pause designed not to gather more external data, but to filter out everything that is not the signal. Why? You are not trying to force a revelation or demand cosmic poetry. You are simply making yourself available to the instruction that is already present, waiting patiently for your attention. Think of your awareness not as a powerful projecting transmitter, but as a silent, exquisitely sensitive receiver. Are you truly prepared to halt the momentum of your own resistance long enough to actually hear the next step? I invite you to commit, beginning tonight, to a precise 5-minute practice before you surrender your awareness to sleep. This is the moment when the conscious, censoring mind begins to soften its grip, and the veil between your terrestrial self and your eternal identity thins naturally. Lie down, allow your body to become completely heavy, and spend 2 minutes simply observing your breath, letting the thoughts of the day dissipate like mist rising from water. Then and only then initiate the silent dialogue. You do not need to speak aloud, and you must resist the urge to analyze the moment. You are to present a singular, clear question to the deeper currents of your being, addressing the entity we call the higher self, the inner guide, or simply the God presence abiding within you. The question must not be complicated, vague, or conditional. It must be brutally honest and focused exclusively on the next essential piece of navigation. Ask only this: what single concrete action must I take tomorrow to move closer to the purpose for which I incarnated? Your terrestrial self, conditioned by the expectation of drama, may anticipate trumpets, fireworks, or divine pronouncements. But the answer, the true nudge, often arrives as an unwelcome responsibility, a quiet conviction, or even a simple mundane word that your mind successfully tried to ignore throughout the day. The instruction rarely feels like pleasure or ecstatic revelation. It feels like absolute necessity. It is never some grand, vague mission statement, but a specific, executable directive. Make that call. Write that first difficult paragraph. Apologize for that old festering resentment. This feeling is not self-criticism or external judgment. It is spiritual engineering, guiding you to the next essential building block. Stop fearing the temporary inconvenience of divine instruction. Are you willing to trade the exhausted comfort of your current resistance for the undeniable authority of knowing your path? You are not a seeker perpetually lost in the fog. You are a recipient, designed perfectly to receive, designed urgently to act. Tonight, become the receiver. The final echoes of this deep exploration do not dissipate into the air. They settle directly into the architecture of your spirit, rearranging the furniture of your former beliefs. I know intuitively that as we reviewed these 5 crucial warning signs, the fatigue, the misalignment, the subtle yet persistent spiritual discomfort, you recognized yourself in the mirror of the esoteric. You weren't just nodding along to intellectual concepts. You felt the unmistakable slight shift in the gravitational pull of your own destiny. You felt the gentle pressure of the guiding hand finally making contact. The challenge now is not the understanding, but the commitment. We have moved past the theories of Edgar Cayce and arrived at the practical application of your own divine instruction. Are you prepared to accept that what you just experienced was not just a fleeting moment of self-reflection, but a direct, personalized communication from the non-physical planes designed specifically for your advancement? That voice in your terrestrial mind, the one obsessed with conventional wisdom and avoiding deep, uncomfortable commitment, is already whispering, trying to file this recognition away as a surge of temporary optimism or generalized spiritual entertainment. It attempts to minimize the profound weight of this calling, insisting that complex, eternal truths must be accompanied by blinding light or thunderous pronouncements, not a simple, subtle feeling of recognition. But I challenge you to recognize the profound difference. This is not mere mental suggestion or coincidence. It is the moment the cosmos sends a direct, personalized telegram to your soul, delivered with the quiet authority of unconditional love. Why? The spirits, your guides, and the universal mind communicate through the most accessible channels: recognition, resonance, and the overwhelming certainty that you know this to be true. They have finished nudging the door. Now you must be the one to step through the frame. Knowledge without subsequent action is merely highly sophisticated procrastination, delaying the inevitable spiritual accountability that waits for us all. Cayce's entire legacy rested on the principle of alignment. When the subconscious receives a truth that catalyzes the next stage of evolution, the conscious mind must ratify it with physical, declarative action. This is your ratification. This is the moment you transition from the hesitant seeker into the confident architect of your incarnation. You have received the map. Now you must commit to the journey. If you felt that undeniable current move through you, if you recognize the subtle touch of the spirits attempting to redirect your life path and pull you back from wasted potential, it is time to ground that intention in the physical realm. You are not meant to carry the awareness of this divine push alone. You are meant to declare it. Take a deep breath, settle the powerful stirring within your chest, and comment the single, powerful code word below: nudge. By typing that word, you seal the contract. You tell the universe and your guides, I heard you, I accept the authority of this recognition, and I commit to acting on the subtle, sacred instruction. You are affirming your new identity, the identity of the recipient who chooses to be guided rather than pushed, who prefers the inconvenience of growth to the comfort of spiritual inertia. Join the community of those who refuse to waste another moment. Seal this declaration of intent, and subscribe now to ensure you receive the next revelation, because this is just the beginning of the journey they have prepared for you. Be the receiver, be the actor, be the aligned self you were born to be. We have traveled through the deep currents of consciousness, tracing the subtle nudges and spiritual signals that Edgar Cayce identified as your soul's urgent plea for redirection. The resistance you felt when confronting those 5 truths was not skepticism. It was the last desperate tremor of a false identity collapsing. Now, standing on this new, clear threshold, I must declare the final truth. The paralyzing mystery you have been chasing is not external. It is the hidden reality of who you already are. There is no longer a mystery to solve, only a self to accept. You may have lived years believing your existence was merely an accident of biology, a consequence of random chance, or perhaps a complicated, messy error. I must reject that narrative entirely. You are not destined to be small. The confusion and chaotic struggle you perceive around you is not proof of cosmic randomness. It is the immense friction created when a massive, precision-guided spiritual blueprint attempts to unfold within the restrictive, fear-based parameters of a small human perspective. Why? This is the ultimate differentiation. Your life is not an accident, it is a mission. Your terrestrial mind, that pragmatic guardian obsessed with safety and the known, is whispering doubts right now. This is too grand. I am not ready. I am just average. That voice is only the echo of the past, the heavy inertia of the wasted time we just studied. But the time for minimizing your light is over. Do you truly believe, after considering the sheer astonishing meticulousness of the universe's creation, that the most complex and sensitive piece of that creation, your immortal soul, was simply thrown onto Earth without a profound, specific purpose? Were you given such intense, unrelenting longing, such unique gifts, only to drown them in routine and comfortable distraction? The spirits, your guides, the celestial orchestrators of your journey, have done their part by nudging you, by sending the 5 urgent signals we deciphered. They have shown you exactly where the waste occurs. The mystery, which kept you paralyzed and small, is revealed to be the magnificent vastness of your own potential. Now the baton is in your hand. Every breath from this moment forward is either a continuation of the spiritual inertia we warned against, or a deliberate, powerful step toward manifestation. Do not let this profound revelation become mere information filed away in your mental archives. Let it be the fire that consumes your doubt, the gravitational force that pulls you into your true orbit. Go forth. Align yourself, not with the person you were told to be, but with the immense self you came here to be. Step into the radical daily practice of becoming. You came here with a mission, a map coded in your very DNA. Do not waste another precious moment of this priceless incarnation. Seal this transformation in your heart right now. Be the aligned self you were born to be.